Welcome to another episode from HenRefurb. It's been a while since the last one, so this time we're going back a few months to have a look at what I've been up to on the engine. But first I need to show you why I've got a few little problems when it comes to fitting the thing in the chassis. Stay tuned. I've got a little side project that I've been working on, and this is one of the engine mounts basically. Now, you're about to see why it's a problem. Problem 1, problem 2. So, I mean, obviously these look super clean because I have super cleaned them, but the problem is still obviously that the rubber is not attached to the pieces of metal. So I'm in the process now of trying to work out what on earth to do about this, whether I can get them re-vulcanized, whether I can buy replacements, unlikely, or perhaps even glue it back together, because the rubber's in fairly good nick, the steel is fine, and there's quite a lot of land to play with, but I'm not sure if that's even remotely possible yet. So I've cleaned them so that they can be photographed and I can go around and look for advice and opinions and things like that, so it's at least, you know, super clean and easy for people to see what we're working with here. But yeah, that's one of those annoying ones that's going to cause a problem with getting the engine back in the chassis. So what with all the chassis stuff coming along nicely, I think it's about time I started having a look at the engine situation. So as far as the engine is concerned, I'm not doing any major work on it because the engine is, well, it seemed tip-top to be honest. So what I'm going to do is take all the ancillaries off it, clean and repair, service all of those, repaint the engine, put it all back together and stick it in the chassis. Basically that's the long story short anyway. There'll be problems on the way. There's problems with a few castings on some of the ancillary parts that have been fixed in the past, and there's a few bits and bobs that are going to need redoing for other reasons. I need to make a new set of gaskets and things like that, but all in all it shouldn't be too complicated, and I've just got the engine mounts to deal with. Obviously I can't put the thing back in the chassis until the engine mounts are in good order, but I think I've got a way forward on those, but I'll let you know nearer the time on that. So here we go. It's a bit dusty. It's been gathering dust for I don't know, what, 2 years now since I took it out, I think. Or maybe not quite, maybe it's 1. I can't actually remember, but a long time anyway. So yeah, I guess I'll just start pulling it apart. This is where the core plug goes, at the back of the engine. The bulkhead of the body is about here. So there's no way you can access this once the engine's in the truck. So I'm doing a proper job cleaning this up, and here's a new core plug. And now that I've done that, the core plug sits nicely in that recess which I've made, because before you could barely even see a recess because of all the rusty bits. But that's a really nice fit in there, and if I put that in there and wallop it with a hammer, it should stay there and seal in theory. I'm inclined to put a small, very, very fine bead of gasket sealant in that recess, just to ensure that it seals perfectly, because the casting is slightly rough. It's 90 years old, what do you expect? But in theory, one of these plugs should just seal. You shouldn't need sealant, they're not designed to have sealant in them. The actual impact of the hammer is what seals them, but it's a precautionary measure, so I don't ever have to worry about it in the future. I've decided that in order to clean everything properly, I really need to get this front part of the engine off, the front cover that presumably has the timing gear inside it. And presumably to get that off, I need to take the pulley off the engine, so I'm going to take the pulley off the engine. I've chocked it at the back, so the back of the crankshaft in theory doesn't move, and I've got big old Stilson on the front, so let's see how this goes. The other problem I have here is I've no way of knowing which way to undo this nut either. I'm sort of assuming I have to turn it anti-clockwise like a normal thread, and that's because if you wind it clockwise that starts the engine, and obviously with an engine of this age you can put a crank handle in and start it by hand, and so if it was anti-clockwise thread you'd undo the nut trying to start the engine. So I'm assuming that's not how they do it, but I guess if they did the nut up tight enough you'd never loosen it by trying to hand start the engine, so I'm not entirely sure, but I'm hedging my bets. Oh, there we go. Yeah, excellent. The nut itself has the hand crank sort of machined into it, so without this nut, this engine doesn't have hand starting ability. I got this cover off successfully in the end after a bit of jiggery pokery and whatnot, and basically I'm running out of time today, so the plan now is to paint the cylinder head. So the cylinder head is going to be silver, the rest of the engine is going to be black. That is the factory spec finish, and basically I've decided that I'll paint the cylinder head now. The block is totally clean anywhere near the cylinder head, so once the cylinder head's done, because I can paint it now and then a top coat again tomorrow morning, and that should do the job really nicely. And then the block I can carry on cleaning at a later stage, but it's nearly spotless to be honest. There's only a couple of tiny little bits just to clean off, but way down from the head, so I'm not going to damage the new head paint at all. And then that horrible cover with all of the bits and the nuts and bolts and all that sort of stuff, I can go and clean in the parts washer properly, which will do a really nice job. So yeah, that is the plan now. And before I can put the paint on, I've got to treat the head with a pre-paint metal prep stuff. So and then I can put the paint over the top, once that's done. That appears to have gone really well. It's really, really, really clean. Ready? Tin of paint and a brush. Off we go. Well, that's the first coat done. Just got to let that dry and then I can put another coat on top. But that stuff covers incredibly well. One coat on all those different coloured bits of metal and it's, yeah, you can't actually tell. And also the brush strokes just disappear, so you can't tell that that's brushed on. I was toying with the idea of spraying it actually, but after looking at, you know, anecdotal reviews from people that have used it and tried both ways, every single one of them said just brush it. And to be fair, it is brush paint. It's designed to be brush painted. That's what it's for. It's not meant to be sprayed. But yeah, it's clearly pretty good stuff. I like it. It's nice. It'll be exciting when we get the whole thing painted. Hey. So this is dried in no time at all. It's ready for coat number 2. The head is done. Looks amazing. It's dried now overnight. Going to do the core plug. Just a quick rub with the drill, and then I'm going to put some sealant in there and pop the thing into place. Best way apparently to make one of these seat is one hard blow with a hammer, not loads of small blows because they just loosen the core plug after you've set it. So one massive heavy blow straight in the back. Feels solid as a rock. I've been doing some tests bonding rubber to steel and come up with an option that I hope will work. So I'm going to take these two mounts and basically glue that piece of rubber back in. You may laugh, but we're stuck for options here and it may just work. And the product I'm going to try is a polyurethane sealant called Sikaflex. It has been recommended by many people and it does appear to work. So here we go. I hope that works. The reason I went for white is so that you can see the Sikaflex. So if it fails, you'll be able to see which bit failed, whether it was the rubber or the steel bond. And it's obvious when it's white, because if you went for black, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So now we just leave that to dry for a week or something. So that conveniently brings us to the end of this episode. Thanks for watching. Next episode I'm going to be continuing with the cleaning and painting up of the engine, and hopefully I'll get the thing in the chassis as well. If you've got any questions or suggestions, pop them in the comments section below. Otherwise, see you next time.